Improvising music has always been a mystical experience for me. It's one of those things that you just can't measure. It makes very little sense to a logical way of thinking, because when it's at its best, it jumps outside of logic or explanation. It goes exponential. It transcends. The mechanics of how music improvisation happens is literally the most interesting subject I can think of. So I'm going to try to describe it and see where it goes. I'm going to try to take you on a journey so you can see how a jazz improviser thinks from the inside, and then consider how some of those ideas might apply to your own life. I have no idea how this will turn out. Like my piano improvisations, I don't know where it's going, but we're on the journey and we're doing it without a net. Hi, it's Ben, and this is Jazz Metaphysics. I'm convinced that the quality of our day-to-day living is related to our perception of time and how we focus on this constantly shifting moment we live within. Improvised music tends to pull the listener forward through time, moment by moment, inch by inch. This intimate relationship to the moment is an exception from how most of us live our lives, and yet it is this intimacy with the flow of time that is the foundation of our ability to create and to relate to one another. All too often, our ways of being in the world are assembled like a construction set out of blocks of opinions and decisions we've made based upon lessons learned from past experience. It's like an algorithm, a software subroutine, an efficient block of thinking and acting that can be reused again and again. And so, by definition, this normal way of living occurs outside the flow of the moment. It stands apart from what actually is, and in essence, is a form of unconsciousness. Consider how we learn to drive. What we accomplish through training and focus becomes encoded into a useful, yet automatic skill. A skill so automatic, in fact, that we are no longer even aware that we are driving when we are driving. It's kind of an amazing accomplishment, but in practice, it's an assemblage of practiced routines and shortcuts, and a cyclical view of time. And the patterns we apply from these shortcuts in driving and in life are not always appropriate to the conditions we meet. It may help us live a 21st century life, but the trade-off is that we rarely live on the very cusp of the moment where magic, creativity, and relationship happens. As a culture, we have cut ourselves off from a practical access to the extraordinary. We have stepped into a side-along reality with a fictional sense of time. We are not actually being here now. At best, we live a safe, predictable life, free of anything that might disturb our day-to-day existence. At worst, we are living an imaginary and repetitive hell built from terrible choices we made out of fear. Contrast that to the peak experiences of life. Sinking that basketball from the opposite side of the court. Having a child, falling in love, playing a great solo, or suddenly getting a life-changing inspiration. Having access to true time, that magical moment-to-moment awareness, is key to living a fulfilled life. Without it, there can be no true intimacy. Yes, it is a balance. We can't function in the world without some subroutines running in the background, but we need to be aware of when we are doing just that. We need to be conscious of where the algorithm ends and our authentic self begins. Humans are pattern machines. We look for and find patterns, even when they don't exist. Confirmation bias is a huge impediment for seekers of truth. We see what we expect to see. And now technology has pushed us further into this trap. Our sources of information conform to our past expressed opinions, be it search, news, social media, or the latest record from a favorite artist. But humans also have freedom to break out of that pattern. They recognize flow. They feel it. They know it when they see it or when they hear it. Music has the capacity to organically generate a field that is attuned to the present moment. For decades, I have been researching the kinds of music that lend themselves to generating that kind of space. As an agape practitioner, I have also been exploring how consciousness can be expanded from a prayerful awareness. Jazz metaphysics is where these two streams meet. Our technology and culture have become so structured around speed and convenience that we have disconnected from an innate power all of us share. It has resulted in a high-tech, low-touch society that is profoundly lonely for far too many of us. Living full-time in an imaginary, technology-driven paradigm is not advised or necessary, and jazz metaphysics' purpose is to offer a path that restores our inherent facility for living in true time, where nonlinear magic actually happens. It's an opportunity to have an expanded relationship to our complete selves, giving us the freedom to stop, to think, to feel, and to better relate to one another. The key is time. We need to look at it differently. As an improvising musician for most of my life, I have some ideas. I want to share them with you and see where it takes us. I hope this serves you in the work you are here to perfect and the life you are destined to live, because each of us are very, very unique and very, very important. Thanks for tuning in. If this subject is something that interests you, I hope you will subscribe to this podcast. It's available on iTunes, Google, and Spotify. If you have comments or ideas you want to share, please feel free to reply to any of the podcast episodes at jazzmetaphysics.com.